So this is coming along. Here's my ship, and I did a layer of just shading, okay, kind of like lights and darks to try to figure out what the volumes are. Did I make it look better? I don't know. I think so. It needs more work, but it's coming along. And here's a bunch of panels I put on there. And some of these could be, you could go into this layer and like some parts are kind of half erased a little bit. Maybe I could turn the opacity down that layer somewhat so it's not so intense. You could also go in there. Let's see here. You know, if you want some piece, let me get back to say 5 pixels, hardness all the way up. You could go and do some kind of thing like this to make little pieces that are, you know, that are thicker or something like that, that there's more of a gap in between them. That's kind of cool looking, right? And you could even go, if it's hard to do that, you could even go like, let's try this, and I'll put a little, and just, you know, maybe that so makes them more interesting, make a little bit of sci-fi variety in there. All right, so keep going, and let's do one more thing for this work session here. Let's try to make this thing look huge, okay? And to make an object, you don't really know how big this is. I mean, it could be very close to the camera, and be 5 feet wide or something, or if it's very far away, then it could be huge, right? So you need to supply some context or contrast to make so the viewer can understand how big it is. If I put a little tiny, person standing on top of it or something, which I don't want to do, I could make it look big, or a little tiny army tank down below. But what we'll do is we'll put windows in here, okay, that are kind of give us some human scale and also gives us some nice detail. All right. See how like these ones have all these windows in here, and this one in particular, these ones seem to me like they're okay, but this one down here looks kind of like, it looks like it fits right on the geometry for some reason, and there's not that much you have to do, just sort of position it on, make it look good. All right, so to do that, let's make a new layer. Okay, and I'm going to not clipped in, right? And I'm going to call it, I don't know, windows or something like that, or lights, or whatever you want to call it. And what we're going to do here is just block out the shapes that we're going to then paste the just office buildings at night into. All right. So what's going to look interesting here? I'm going to do a bunch of them, right? So I'm going to do that. And I'm just going to keep adding to my selection here. I'm in add. And I'm going to do a bunch of stuff here in this area, I think. And of course, everything's on layers. It can always be erased and so on. I want kind of like a lot, but maybe something here. And some, some can be dark, some can be light. Okay, and I'm just going to fill this, and I'm going to go edit fill with foreground color. Okay. Select, deselect. All right, and since I don't think that color is going to matter, I mean, obviously we don't want it to be red, but since it's going to be completely filled with things, it'll just help me to see what I'm doing a little bit more, I think. Or you could just fill it with black and not worry about it. All right, let's go up to Google Chrome. And I did buildings at night, try to use, I think I did any size for this, but I was mostly a lot of times looking at large sizes. Make sure it doesn't have watermarks on it. We can adjust the colors later, so I don't think it really matters that much if they're warm tones like this or cool tones. You probably don't want stuff at an angle unless that makes sense with the geometry of your ship. And writing, of course, is something to watch out for. Okay, I'm going to copy image, and then I'm going to go back to Photoshop and edit paste. Okay, and I'm going to create clipping mask. Look at that right off the bat. Making sure auto select is not turned on there. Control T. Put on reading glasses. And you just, adjust them till they look good. And I don't know if there's a reason for me to get other other layers or not. I just copied this by holding down Alt. I got to rotate a little bit so the, they're in line with my geometry and look good. Maybe I'll get another picture just for some variety. One Wilshire. May want to turn down the opacity of these somewhat. So I'm going to go back to my Windows layer. If I alt click on it, right? I'm going to change these to black. I could go, there's different ways I could do it. I'm just going to go image, adjustments, brightness, contrast, and okay, let me try something else. Image adjustments, hue, saturation. I was just filling with black too. Okay. All right. Anyway, what I was thinking of doing is I'm not really digging this last piece I put on here. I'm gonna make it smaller. And I'm going to make turn the opacity down on that somewhat. And these two, so I have these two here, and let's see if I can merge this down without screwing up the clipping mask. So I'm just going to put them on the same layer. Merge down. Yeah. So now they're just both on one layer. And I could keep them that warm tone if I wanted, or I could go image, adjustments, hue, saturation, and I can just change the saturation. So like say I want blue looking lights. That's cooler, I think. And that's just going to change the tint of whatever's, it's going to take the whole image and move it around the color wheel, which is fine if they're all about the same color. Or if you want them all to be tinted one color, just turn on colorize. And now if there's variations, okay, so that's looking fairly cool. So I gotta, it might look a little cut out in a way. So like, for example, here, I need to go in and trim up the shape in Windows. Like if I go to Windows here, I can go, I should be able to just, you know, so let me back up. I accidentally had that on plus. You know, you can adjust things so they fit into your geometry better. And I'm going to go through and tweak these a little bit, but that helps quite a lot, don't you think? That makes it look cooler. Now this is like a vast space under here. Could have spaceships flying in and out of there. All right, big command center up top. All right, so let's save it as a JPEG and hand it in at this stage. Make it look as good as you can. All right. Save multiple versions as you go along. Also, sometimes you kind of like, well, we're working with quite a lot of layers here, so you probably won't, but I usually save multiple versions as I go along. All right, sounds good.